Do you have something inspiring to say? Have you always known that your voice can contribute to the world? Is now the time? Yes, now is the time. The world is waiting for you. Welcome to the Inspired Choices Network Open Mic Spotlight Show. Today, we have an inspiring guest who is ready to share their voice with the world. Now, on to the show.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whether you're listening live or in the replay. I'm so happy you are here. I am your host, Christine McIver, and we have another inspiring guest with us today on the Open Mic Spotlight Show. My guest is none other than Suzanne Stauffer. Suzanne, thank you so much for joining me today.
Woohoo! I'm here! It is snowy, and it is snowy like crazy and dark still, and 7 a.m. where I am, so I am committed, man, to this process.
Oh, my God. I feel so honored that you pulled your butt out of bed for me. No, you didn't do it for me. You did it for all those amazing listeners out there who are just so excited to hear all about who is this Suzanne lady? Like, really, who is she? I feel like Barbara Walters on this show, Suzanne. I feel like I dig in and I find things nobody else finds.
Woohoo! Well, let the uncovering begin.
So Suzanne is our unique, exciting speaker today, and she is going to be sharing her messages, her ideas, her creations, and much more with us, what she is creating in the world. And let me just tell you a little bit about Suzanne. Suzanne is a guide, a truth teller, and a soul revealer. She can empower you to dust off your soul's truth and unveil the most authentic, magical, and abundant you've ever imagined. Suzanne's 20-plus years of diverse experience paired with her training as a psychic, personal trainer, I didn't know that, health coach, and accountant uniquely qualifies her to bring her clarity and a revitalizing energy to every area of our lives. Suzanne is also known as the number chick, the body maven, the spiritual guide, and relationship revitalizer. I love those titles, Suzanne. And
I love it.
And what a unique combination. You are like a surprise package wrapped up with all this yumminess. Like, oh my God.
It is. I think people just kind of look at me, and they're like, no, what? No, huh? Like, so
they probably do the head tilt, right? They probably like,
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, they do. And it's one of my partner, Megan, who we do Love, Life, and All Things Weird on Inspired Choices Network. So she's my partner in crime, in life, and in business. And she loves telling people, strangers, about what I do. She'll be like, no, okay, so she's a psychic, and she's an accountant, and she does body stuff too. So, and people are just like, she loves their responses, so it is really fun. And I feel like for a lot of years, I went on this wandering path, and I almost in a way kind of made myself wrong for that, because I was like, well, can't I just figure out what I want to do? Like, I was never one of those kids that knew I was going to be, the singer or the artist or whatever. I was just like, I don't know, and so I kept reinventing myself, over the years. Whatever just felt super exciting to me at the time, I was like, I'm going there. And I'd literally just change up my whole life. Like I was an accountant for years and years, and then transformed my own body after I had 3 kids, and basically just gave up like a 6-figure job to become a personal trainer. So I've definitely gone that route of, follow the energy, follow my passion, whatever excites me in the moment I'm going for. And what's awesome about that now is that I just, in what I'm doing now with especially my coaching and intuitive practice, is I have so much freaking tools and so much experience in like so many different areas. It's just like, yeah, you got an issue. Yeah, I got something to say about that. I got some tools around that. So
I kind of see you. I imagine you diving into a great big, like one of those old doctor bags. Hang on a second. Let me see which tool I need to pull out here.
Yes, yeah, and it's kind of shocking. But it's like an all-in-one. So when I have people that come and coach with me, they're like, "Oh, you do that? Oh, and we can get into that? What?" It's like a one-stop shop. I'm like an Amazon.
Only prettier. Way prettier.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Let's start at the beginning, Suzanne.
Cool.
So tell me where you were born and raised.
I was born and raised in Bountiful, Utah, which is a suburb of Salt Lake City. And I have eight brothers and sisters. So I grew up in a really large family, and a very Mormon family and a very dysfunctional family.
Where were you in the line? Where were you in the lineup?
I was fourth in line. However, there was 4-year gap between me and my older sister. So in a way, I took on a lot of the characteristics of a first child. And so I basically raised my younger siblings, and really kind of held down the fort a lot. I was at 11, I was like the mother. So I took on a lot of responsibility at a very young age, and so I have a lot of those characteristics of a first child.
Wow. And so you stayed in the same city your whole life?
Yeah, I stayed in Salt Lake City. I moved to California for a couple years when I was married to my first husband, and that was amazing. Got to go be at the beach and fell in love with the beach. But yeah, I've been in Utah almost all my life, and am now looking, part of our plan, Megan and mine, is to really be out in the world and to have Salt Lake be a very part-time place. It's very beautiful, and times of the year. Right now, not so much.
If you're not a skier, not so much. So, growing up, Megan, okay, so you're raised Mormon and you're a psychic. I'm sure that was an interesting awareness as you began to have that come to fruition. What was your childhood like when you started to tap into all of this about yourself?
Well, what I would say is that early on I could see people so clearly, and I could read people, and I knew when there were lies. I knew when there was a lot of stuff going on in my family, kind of behind the scenes, a lot of drama, and a lot of deception. And I saw that really early on. But because of, like the constructs that I was in, I became kind of a wallflower. I would just watch. I would watch everything go down. And I was very aware, but I became quite hidden. So it's a funny story that my birthday is very close to Halloween, October 28th, and my nickname as a little kid was Spook, which is like a ghost. And that was really how I felt. I felt like a ghost growing up. I felt like I was invisible, actually. And so for really, I would say I haven't taken on visibility except for probably the last couple of years. I've very, very much been the one behind the scenes, the wallflower, the one that's watching and knowing and seeing, but very much not being seen or trying not to be seen.
Right. And did you find that in staying back in the shadows that you were able to see people more? You know what I mean?
Well,
more.
Yeah, I would say that they didn't know I was watching. Like, I really realized I had this magical capacity to actually put an invisibility cloak around me. And so it was like I could be in a room, and it's almost as if I'd put this cloak around me, and then I could just watch all of the dynamics and see what was actually happening. I started using my ability to read people when I got into business, because I could like read their thoughts, and I knew immediately how to approach them. And so I've always used my intuitive abilities. It just was in less kind of psychic, ways, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Not direct psychic ability, but within your other capacities. So did you go to college or university for accounting?
Yeah, I did. I graduated with an accounting degree from the U of U, and I launched into a full-time job as an auditor and as an accountant, and that's what I did for 5 years until we moved to California, and then I started creating my own business, and that's when I really started working with entrepreneurs and working with small businesses. So that was the start of my kind of entrepreneurial career, which was super fun. I was doing a lot of accounting consulting, business consulting, and just working with entrepreneurs to get their systems and structures set up, because they had a lot of vision, but they didn't have a lot of organization. And so that's what I did for years and years. It was really fun, and I love entrepreneurs, that's one of my kind of niches, I guess, is that I have so much experience with entrepreneurs. So it's really fun to create with those type of people.
That's fabulous. So you are a mother. So how young were you when you first had a child?
I got married at 18. I wouldn't suggest that to anybody. Please don't do that. And I had my first child when I was 21, and so I was always outside of the box, though. Even as a Mormon, I was supposed to settle down and be the mom and raise my family. And my husband was a good provider, and so I was supposed to kind of let him be the provider and me be the role of the mother. And so but I was always kind of a rebel. I was always on the outskirts of what I was supposed to do or supposed to be. I was always on the fence of groups and stuff like that, not really feeling like I belonged. So of course I had to go against that, because I pursued my career and was working full time and being a mom full time, and ended up having 3 kids. I have 3 kids, and now, oh my gosh, they're almost out of the nest. I have one that's 16 and moving towards freedom, and that makes me very happy. But they're amazing, and I love being a mom, and I hate being a mom, and and it's always been one of those relationships for me that has been so primary, but also so intense and challenging. So it's been a way of until I found my way of being a mom, it was really challenging for me to be in that system, in those constructs.
Wow. It's so cool to hear all of this. I'm literally, and I do this oftentimes when I'm interviewing the hosts here on the network. I'm leaning in towards my computer. Not that I can hear you anymore, but I'm so engaged in everything, Suzanne. This is fantastic. So Suzanne, what's the one thing that you've taken from your childhood, being invisible and being raised Mormon? What's the one thing that has been a big credit for you and that you carry forward with you now?
I would just say that everything serves, I think that's really my message, is that, as challenging as my childhood was, as invisible as I felt, as much of a misfit as I've always felt, that is actually so much my strength and my gifts and capacities, and that what it's kind of an axis where they say whatever is your wrongness is your strongness, and so everything that I've gone through and all of the intensity and pain, truthfully, and feeling like I didn't belong here, has really created this place and space for me to honor that and to use that and to support and empower people who feel that same way too.
Yeah. so wonderful. Okay, we are up to our first break already. Oh, my gosh. We are going to dive into more things all about Suzanne Stauffer when we get back from our first commercial break. Stay tuned. You are listening to Open Mic Spotlight Show here on the Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have something inspiring to say? Would you like a taste of being one of our inspired hosts? Get on the air on the Inspired Choices Network Open Mic Spotlight Show. The Open Mic Spotlight Show is your time to shine and inspire our global audience. Shows air at 9 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday each week. Claim your spot today. Simply contact our network owner at info@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Forget the days of 5 minutes of fame. Now you can have 55 minutes of fame.
Are you looking for a place to create, connect, and belong? Where you have massive encouragement to be the weird, live outside the box person you truly are. If you've chosen a different path as a rebel, an innovator, a leader, entrepreneur, and changemaker, you're in the right place. On Love, Life, and All Things Weird, Megan and Suzanne bring you inspiration, awesome tools for transformation, and full permission to be you. Claim your weird and live your most ridiculous life. Be sure to listen every Wednesday at noon Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
You are listening to the Open Mic Spotlight Show here on Inspired Choices Network. To call in and ask questions, call 815-880-8255 in the U.S., 613-800-8736 in Canada, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the show.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around and playing with us today as we learn all about Suzanne Stauffer. So, Suzanne, before we went for break, we were talking all about your childhood and where you grew up and about some of your capacities. So now you've gone to school for an accountant. You have been working in the field for about 5 years, and then you moved to California. Is that when you moved to California after that time?
Yeah.
Okay. And so did you have the 3 kids when you moved to California?
Well, I started in Salt Lake City. My kids are 3.5 years apart. So I was doing the having kids thing for about a decade.
Most people say 10 years, Suzanne, a decade.
No, yeah, it's yeah. So I had my first baby in Salt Lake City, and then I had my second one and third one in San Jose, actually, and then moved back to Salt Lake City.
So how long were you in California for?
3 years.
And what had you come back to Salt Lake City? Like, it's such a different atmosphere. That's why I'm curious.
Well, I went for a job to California, and then my marriage fell apart. And so I actually moved back to Salt Lake City to try to kind of save my marriage, and then it didn't. I got divorced. The things you do for love. So
the things you do for love. There's a radio show right there, girl.
I know. Yeah, so kind of Salt Lake was my hometown, and I had a lot of family support, and because I was a full-time, I was a career woman, and I really would desire support for my little kids, and so my mom would take care of my kids when I worked and stuff. So it was a really great environment for me to be in with regards to that, being a single mom. Although ever since leaving California, I've always, ever since then, I knew I was going to be living at the beach at least 3/4 time. So, so in that way, it was really such a much more aligned place for me energetically. That's what we're working towards. So, it's
wonderful.
In my life, I've created so much like playtime and beach time and ocean time, and it started there. It started in California.
Cool. So when did you, now you're back home in Salt Lake City, you're a single mom, you're working. When did you start to bring in the, I can't remember the title that you have, the Body Maven? When did that begin?
That's when I had my accounting consulting company. At 29, I was like, it was 12 weeks before I turned 30. And I was in the kind of typical place of, had 3 kids, had an extra 30 pounds, was spending so much time on my kids as a single mom that I really wasn't taking care of me. And I did a 12-week transformation where I went from a size like 16 to a size 4. And it was such an amazing spiritual journey for me. And after that, I was so inspired by that I wanted to do that. I wanted to create that for other women. And so that's when I kind of dropped like everything and went and studied personal training and health coaching and all things body, and started working at 24-Hour Fitness for $10 an hour after having a six-figure career in the accounting world, because I was so invested in my passion around health and body. So right. So that's when I got into that, and I actually was a personal trainer and health coach for 10 years, and was one of the first people in my world, at least, that was talking about listening to bodies and communing with bodies and, asking your body what food it wanted. I was doing that 10 years ago. And so it's really fun to see now how changed the industry is and how changed the conversation is with people with their bodies. Because when I was, my first company was called Body Bliss, and it was about getting blissed out with your body, and people just looked at me like I was like an idiot. Like, what do you mean bliss and body in the same sentence, That's not even a concept. I'm supposed to be controlling my body, so it was really, I was a kind of a trailblazer in that place, and it was very challenging to build that business because people were not having that conversation with their bodies back then.
Right. So can you said it so fast. You went from what size to what size in what length of time?
A size 16. I was 14, 16 to a size 4 in 12 weeks.
12 weeks?
Yes.
Wowzers. Yes. As Keisha says. Exactly. 12 weeks. That's wild, lady.
Yeah.
What were you doing, a marathon a day or something? Like, my
you know what was so interesting? Yes, like I had never done any weight training before I went to the gym. I had never actually even lifted weights before that time. So I definitely changed up what I was doing with my body, exercising and eating really clean. But more than that, I was doing an inside out job. I was like looking at how I hated my body, how I judged my body, and was really clearing everything that I had thought was possible with my body. So I did all of it, the kind of energetic and emotional and personal development work in addition to the exercise and eating part of it. And that was why I got the results that I did. And that was really such an inspiration to me in moving forward with my clients, because it's a combo platter. You do one and not anything else, and you'll get either no results or limited results, in what you're really looking for. So that was really my concept, is let's go from the inside out, and also the outside in. Let's do both.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, so Suzanne, tell me something. What is inspiring to you?
I would say what's inspiring to me is people being courageous enough to align with their truth and to live their life from that place. I think that that's what I think leaning into the truth, especially in times of transition, especially in times of change, is one of the most inspiring, courageous things that we can do. To just look at ourselves in the mirror and say, yeah, you know what? This isn't working and I want more, and change needs to happen, and I'm going for it. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to figure out something better. I don't know if there's more for me, but I'm going for it. So to me, it's aligning. It's alignment. It's aligning with your truth. It's being who you are. It's being courageous enough to go for it.
I love that. I love that. So, Suzanne, what is inspiring about you, to you?
I feel like that I have a tenacity about me that's inspiring. Considering where I came from with the physical, emotional, and sexual abuse of my childhood, and a lot of the experiences that I chose early on in my life and in my early relationships, I should not be where I am today. If you were to look at my trajectory, it could have looked like a battered woman, who was the victim, overweight, unhappy, and poor. I was very poor as a child, and that was my trajectory. And I would say that I have a tenacity to go for more in every area of my life. I'm not going to settle with my body. I'm not going to settle with my money. I'm not going to settle with my relationships. I'm not going to settle in my career. I'm not fucking settling. So for me, it's that. It's like a tenacity to just keep going and to keep at it and to change and transition and move forward always.
And have you had times in your life, Suzanne, where that wasn't present? You've just spoken to some very challenging things. Were there times where you were felt like giving up, felt like running away from it all?
Sure, yeah. There's been multiple times I've been fetal position, laying on the floor, bawling my eyes out, saying, I don't want to be on this planet. I don't want to be here. It's too hard. I'm out. I can't do this. I'm seriously wrong. There's something wrong. Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of those intense moments of feeling broken, completely, fundamentally broken. But it's sometimes it's a day, sometimes it was a week, sometimes it was a month, but it was like I'm getting back up, I'm standing back up, and I'm going for it. And I'm not giving up. And there's got to be something different than what I'm experiencing right now, and I'm finding it. And I'm going to be tenacious enough to find it.
That's fabulous. I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you have that within you. I listen to you and Megan on the radio, and the energy and the contribution that the both of you is phenomenal. The change that you are making in the world, and had it not been for you to reach down deep inside of you to pull that up and say, hell no, I'm not stopping. There would be a lot of people without the capacity to choose more as well. So, Suzanne, when did you begin to step into your psychic capacities and bring them into the world and speak to that?
Yeah, so that's a newer development in the last 5 years or so. The funny story is that when I got together in relationship with Megan 7 years ago, she had this crazy, weird community that were super woo-woo, and they'd carry crystals, and they were all flowy in their clothes. And I came from this place of being the corporate executive, the accountant, right? And so I come into this community, and I'm like, who the hell are all these people? And why are they talking about communing with the earth? It was just so bizarre for me in my world. And so I right at the beginning of our relationship, I said, you know what, Megan, there's no way that I'm going to become one of your woo-woo friends. There's no way. I am not woo-woo. And then now it's like I've really turned into probably one of the most woo-woo people that I know.
You're the woo leader.
Yeah, totally. So, but it started actually, I was building my health coaching and personal training business. And I went to a seminar in Arizona to build my business. And the person leading it was doing something energetically and intuitively that I could see clearly. And I was like, I want to know that. Whatever she's doing, however she's reading people, whatever that is, that's why I'm here. That's what I want to learn. And so that wasn't even what the workshop was about. But I went and figured it out. And I was like, what is this thing? And she was reading people's Akashic Records, which an Akashic record is like an energy history of your soul, of how many lifetimes you've lived. It's like an energetic record in the spiritual realm. And she was reading that and then helping people with their lives and their business from that place. And so I paid a lot of money at the time. It was like thousands and thousands of dollars for this program. And I mentored with her for about a year off and on and learned this process of going into the Akashic Records. And it was really then that I developed my intuition. My intuition had always been on the back burner. It had always been whispering to me. I'd always actually used my ability to see people. But it wasn't until I actually started with this kind of tool of the Akashic Records that launched me into my intuitive and Akashic Record business. By the time I finished my coursework, by the time I got over the resistance. So I buy this huge program for thousands of dollars. I bring it home and I sit it on the counter for 6 weeks and I ignore it. Okay. After having just had this amazing breakthrough, right? And this is what I'm meant to do. And then I leave it on the counter for 6 weeks. And I am not a procrastinator, people. I am not. So for me, that was a crazy, thing. And Megan finally says to me, what is going on? And I'm like, I am freaking scared. I'm so scared to open this up because it feels huge. And I had this story that my mom was really, really weird and very out there and very outside of the box. And I did not want to be like her because she didn't function well in the world. And so I had lumped everything into this kind of intuitive thing. And so once I cleared a bunch of that shit and I got through my coursework in a few weeks, and before I even finished, I had 5 paying clients. So it was like the universe saying to me, hello, knock, knock, knock. This is your path. What the freak are you doing? So it was really cool and inspiring, but also scary as hell. It was probably the scariest place for me to go, honestly. And that was the opening in the beginning. So I started doing Akashic record readings, and that was 5 years ago, and that's probably now about 30% of my business is doing Akashic record readings for people. And I love it. It's super fun, and I'm really good at it. Kind of my niche is past life stuff, tuning into past life energies that are still affecting you now. If you're part of Access, you understand the idea of the lock and the key, and I am the lock and the key for karma. And so I have the ability to clear karma for people. And people, if you are experiencing something in your life that is not working, that you have done a lot of personal work around, then there is karma there. There is karma there. And you've got to clear it in order to actually create something different.
Okay, we just had 100,000 people lined up. Jesus, Suzanne, we don't have time for 100,000 people right now. Who doesn't have something? Oh, my God. Okay, we're going to go for our second break. When we get back, we're going to dive even deeper. Hang on, everybody. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break. You're listening to the Inspired Choices Network. Woo!
Do you have something inspiring to say? Would you like a taste of being one of our inspired hosts? Get on the air on the Inspired Choices Network Open Mic Spotlight Show. The Open Mic Spotlight Show is your time to shine and inspire our global audience. Shows air at 9 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday each week. Claim your spot today. Simply contact our network owner at info@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Forget the days of 5 minutes of fame. Now you can have 55 minutes of fame.
Are you looking for a place to create, connect, and belong? Where you have massive encouragement to be the weird, live outside the box person you truly are. If you've chosen a different path as a rebel, an innovator, a leader, entrepreneur, and changemaker, you're in the right place. On Love, Life, and All Things Weird, Megan and Suzanne bring you inspiration, awesome tools for transformation, and full permission to be you. Claim your weird and live your most ridiculous life. Be sure to listen every Wednesday at noon Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
You are listening to the Open Mic Spotlight Show here on Inspired Choices Network. To call in and ask questions, call 815-880-8255 in the U.S., 613-800-8736 in Canada, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back, everyone. Wow, I'm so glad that was a really short break. So before we went for break, we were really getting into everything about your capacity, with your psychic capacity, and as Keisha says in the chat room, embracing the woohoo of you, which is so true. And it's funny, it's funny that was one of the first things that first capacities you had as a young child, and it's one of the most recent ones that you've begun to embrace.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see that all the time when I do coaching. It's like we go with what we're good at. We don't go with what we're meant to do. We go with what we can get by with, but we don't actually go for the really, like, the genius place, the purpose place. And that's one of my funnest readings as a soul purpose reading, is to lean in and connect in with people's true essence and what they're really, really wanting to do in the world, and not kind of just what pays the bills right now, kind of.
Right. Ish. So if you would like to get in touch with the brilliant, fully capacity in every direction woman, Suzanne Stauffer, you can find her at livingyoursoultruth.com, and it definitely is in the write-up of this replay. So, Suzanne, you've been embracing so many things in your life and so many things about you. You've changed the trajectory of your entire life from being Mormon. I assume you're not a Mormon anymore. I'm just gonna
no.
Just gonna put that out there.
I'm living with the ladies, so I'd be living in sin,
So how did that all go down with the community? Because you're still in the same community.
Yeah, I am, and it's fun. And exciting and challenging. No, my family, the biggest challenge was with my family, honestly, because they were super shocked, obviously. I didn't leave the church until after I was, until in my 30s, my early 30s. So I tried to do the church thing on and off for a long time. But yeah, I would say my family has really come around to supporting. They see me very happy, and so it helps them to see that maybe I won't go to hell. Or if I do, at least I'll be happy, my whole way through.
And you're not a burden on them anymore, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I went and saw him last night. We had a little family party or whatever, and it just gets easier and easier to be with my family because I choose me. I choose my truth, and I choose to go forward, and I choose to not get hooked into the stuff. So it's easier and easier for me to be with whatever they are, with wherever they are, because I feel so secure in me. It's an awesome change for me, because I used to be really scared that I'd lose everything. I'd lose my family. I'd lose my kids, if I was me, if I chose me. And it's the opposite.
That's awesome. And you must find, Suzanne, that when you're doing readings with people, that you can really guide them forward into choosing them, now that you have done that so brilliantly in your life.
Yes, it's one of my favorite things is to help people remember who they truly are. It's one of the most amazing parts of what I do. And I had this fun idea this morning to offer a 15-minute clarity sessions, like clear your karma. Yeah, clear your karma. You guys know you got karma, and
I'm looking around for it. Is it behind me?
Yeah. I would say maybe the first 3 or first 5 people to email me at Suzanne P. Stauffer at gmail.com. Maybe you can put my email in the replay information. It's SUZANNEP Stauffer, STAUFFER at gmail.com, and just email me and say, hey, I want one of your Clear Your Karma laser sessions. And if you're one of the first 3 or 5 or whatever, I'll do it. We can talk.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's so generous.
Yeah, that's fun. I love doing that stuff. It's fun. Plus, it helps people get an experience of really what it feels like to clear karma, because we're all walking around with it and don't even know.
Do you know what you got all over you there?
Exactly.
Suzanne's always looking through a fog at people. Do you know what's around you? Okay, I make this up. Yeah, I make this up, people. This is not. I don't know if that's true.
I actually do see it. It shows up as I feel it and I see it. There's almost like a heavy, a lot of times black, kind of hazy. It's like people have mud on them. It's like they have dirt on them.
Wow.
And they're walking around. It's kind of like, who is it that in the Peanuts that has dust all around them? Is that Linus or something?
Yes,
or
I think it is Linus.
Or I don't know. Yeah, but that is how people walk around. They are like... there's a dust storm of not them.
And Suzanne's out there with her vacuum cleaner, vacuuming all that shit up.
Totally, yes.
Like you like Ghostbusters with the vacuum on your back. Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes,
I need to vacuum you.
Totally.
Oh my God! Look what happens early morning conversations. The giggles come out.
Yeah, we gotta clean that shit up, man. We gotta get organized. Get your true self out, because that is not pretty. That is not looking good. You are not going to attract anything you want if you're walking around like that.
That new outfit just doesn't look very good, because you got all that shit in there too.
Exactly.
So, Suzanne, now I know it's different for everyone, of course, but when someone comes for one of these readings with you, how quickly do you see them to begin to change when they have had this karma clearing?
It's immediately. I mean, I can see the energy changing in their body, immediately. And they start lightening up. Now, sometimes people will choose back into the old story or the old construct, and so they stop the change. But it happens immediately. They start feeling lighter. They look different energetically. They're much more clear. They feel empowered. They feel clear. They feel like themselves. And, they walk out from this place in this different place of ooh, this is more of me. So it's immediate, and they have to keep choosing it, obviously. They have to, really keep making those choices towards who they truly are and what they truly want.
Right. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Okay, people, get on the phone or get in your emails. Email this woman. how brilliant her capacities to see in so many different areas. So I know you as one of our brilliant radio show hosts here on the network with Megan, and you love life and all things weird. And when I met you two, I mean, it was in a class. I think it was Megan that turned around and said something to me, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or
yeah.
I turned around and Megan said something.
Yeah, she's the more social one of the bunch, so of course it was going to be her.
and she said, "Hey, are you the woman in the radio?" and blah blah blah. And then we connected, and from the moment I connected with you two and had our first Skype meeting, it was so much fun, and there was so much laughter, and I could very easily see the difference and the contributions each of you were. Tell everyone what that radio show is all about.
Love, Life, and All Things Weird is about really going for like the extraordinary. It's about getting into all of that stuff that can just wear you down and wear you out, trying to figure out how to create a business, how to create a relationship that works for you, and really like exploring how to choose magic so it's all of it is so much easier. So that's why it's Love, Life, and All Things Weird. Weird is the magical and the mystical. So I think we keep coming back to magic and miracles and possibility because it's the way through to make it easier. But we're like, what I love about us is that we're real. We're in a real relationship, and there's all kinds of shenanigans. Like, we're not the polished, like radio hosts. We're keeping it real all the time. That sometimes life is amazing, and you've got to keep choosing that, and sometimes it's shit, and you got to keep choosing out of it. And so that's what I love about our show is that we show up, we're real, we're in it to win it too with you. We're not above you telling you what to do. We're right there in the journey with you.
That's obvious.
And we're bringing magic.
It is such a fabulous show. I mean, there's so much action in the chat room and so much play. It's an honor to have the two of you on the platform. I'm really glad that Megan said something.
I know, right?
Yeah. So Suzanne, tell me, what is important to you in the world at this time?
I would say at this time, I feel like more than ever, it's time to lower your barriers. It's time to choose you. It's time to be the change. I was sharing a vision with Megan the other night of like, I want a world where you meet somebody for the first time and you see the real them. You see there's no persona, there's no walls, there's no judgment. There's just a communion and an essence and an allowance of like, oh, hi, I see you and you see me, and let's go from there. That's the vision that I see for this world, and in a place and in a time where there's so much either or, where there's so much I'm right, you're wrong, where there's so much fear, like, can we just one-on-one show up for each other without walls and barriers, and just as we are, and that it's enough, and that we can change the world from that place.
Mm. Yes, I choose that. That. I love that. So, you've had such a journey in your life so far, and you're not by any means done or done discovering more about you. But with all that you've learned and all that you've experienced and created up to this point in your life, Suzanne, what is your message to the world for 2017? What is it that you would like them to know that maybe they're not willing to or haven't yet discovered? I
mean, it's really about be you and you will change the world. like show up in all of you, who you really are, and follow the energy, and you will change the world, that you are enough, and that the more of us that stand up and say, hey, this is who I am, this is my magic, this is my contribution, this is my impact, that it will be a cumulative effect that will change the consciousness of this planet.
Mm-hmm.
So that.
It's beautiful. Very, very, very well said. So with all of this that we've learned about you, what's the next step for you? What's the future looking like for Suzanne Stauffer?
Well, I would say we're in the game of going global, Megan and I, and that means traveling all over the world and teaching all over the world. And this year I took on being her project manager, so relaunching her in the world. And so that's been a crazy, fun, awesome experience. And so I see us, being in the world and creating impact for thousands and thousands. Like, it's been really incredible for me over the last 20 plus years of being an entrepreneur that I get to work one-on-one with people and have those places of communion and incredible transformation, and it's a one-on-one experience, and I love that. I'll never go away from that, but there is something about creating community. There's something about going out into the world and being as big and visible as I can be, that creates an impact of thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands that I'm about. Like, I used to think it was enough to just do my one-on-one stuff and have my little life. But it's not. It's not enough. And I think that's what's so exciting and scary about the future, is that I'm changing up how I've always done my life. And it's really exciting and crazy scary.
Oh, what's scary about it when you're a woman with your capacities, your psychic abilities, and the joy that you are in the world? You know, Megan. Megan, sorry, I'm reading Megan in the chat room. She said, when you're referring to her now, that's a project, which is true. But Suzanne, you know what you're doing. You know the capacities that you have. Is it scary, or is it exciting that it's stretching you?
Well, it's not. It's like I trust my capacities. But I've always been the type of person that was like, I got this. I'm going to do this, almost like it's I'm the only one that can do this in a way. And so for me, in this stepping forward, it's like surrendering into the support of the universe. Because I can't create this big dream by myself. Right. And so it's really about the fear or excitement, or whatever you want to call it, is about trusting the unknown. It's about trusting what I can't control. It's about trusting the magic. And so that is a huge leap for me, but it's also super, super exciting and thrilling, and I think it's my up level, my next big up level.
I love it. I love it. So if you would like to get in touch with Suzanne, yet again, livingyoursoultruth.com. You definitely don't want to reach out to this brilliant being and have her contribute in your world. And of course, if you jump on your email immediately, you can get a laser karma soul clearing at SuzannePStauffer@gmail.com. Thank you so much, darling, for getting up this morning, for being with us today, and for sharing all of your brilliance in the world. You certainly are a gift to us and to all of our listeners and to many, many more people, and I truly appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. Woohoo!
Woohoo! Okay, everyone, go rock your Monday. Woo!
Thank you for listening to the Open Mic Spotlight Radio Show. We will be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Mountain, and and 6 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, continue to create you with joy and inspiration.